Once upon a time, I owned an Austin Maestro. To anybody British and above a certain age, I won't need to tell you how much my previous confession was a walk in the park compared to that. There will also be unfortunate Europeans who know my shame. But to anybody in North America and elsewhere, an Austin Maestro was a car. A shitty car, a really, really shitty car. My knowledge of American cars is limited, but it will probably make Walter White's Pontiac look cool. So hopefully you get the picture. They were all ugly and slow, but this one had a particular feature. Despite filling the cooling system before I set out every day, I could only drive it for 5 miles or so before it would discharge all of its water out of the heater onto my feet. The windscreen would steam up instantly and I knew it was time to stop. But this was manageable, since work was only 4.7 miles away, so it was never worth fixing. One of the reasons for this is that I was about to go to Australia for a year, and I was saving my money for that. However, I thought I might need a car, however awful, upon my return, and I entrusted it to a bloke I knew, who said he would park it up, use it if necessary, if he was that desperate, and keep it for me for when I got back. So 12 months passed, I got back to England, and the Maestro was upside down in an adjacent field. In fact, it looked as if it had been upside down several times, since all the roof pillars were bent and the tailgate was nowhere to be seen. It turned out the safekeeper's teenage son and his mates had used it to learn to drive. I hope they made better progress. So how did I feel about this? Well, I was a bit irked, but I wasn't devastated, considering what a hopeless old banger it was. And it was certainly no uglier from underneath. But it was mine. I hadn't been using it, it's true, but I might have. And when I needed it, it wasn't there. It was mine, and then it was taken from me, and then it wasn't mine anymore. I certainly never received any compensation for the loss of it. But it reminds me that I've lost something else seemingly unimportant on the face of it, and something that I never really considered I was using. And that something was, and I appreciate the irony of using YouTube to call for this, but that something was anonymity. It doesn't seem important, does it? Anonymity. Who needs that? Maybe no one. Maybe I don't. But I had it, and now I don't. When I was away from my home, away from work, away from the people who knew me, I was anonymous. When I was in transit from place to place, I was anonymous. When I was on a bus or a train, and also when I was in my car, I was completely and utterly anonymous. And in a sense, a very real sense, I felt genuinely free. Not anymore. Because since 2002, a surveillance network by the name of Automatic Number Plate Recognition, or ANPR, has been rolled out across the country. Whenever anyone travels on any motorway or any major route, crosses any major bridge, enters or leaves any major town or city, or goes past any toll booth anywhere in the United Kingdom, it is logged. It is logged regardless of whether there is any suspicion of wrongdoing or whether there is none. The law-abiding public of this country are now, and have been for 16 years, subject to indiscriminate mass surveillance. And as far as I'm concerned, illegally. So why illegal? Well, in this country, laws are made in Parliament, and as far as I can tell, there has never been any laws passed that have allowed such a system to operate. If I'm mistaken, please correct me, but I don't believe I am. And this is not okay. If someone takes something from you without permission, that's not okay. And because it has been taken without any laws being passed, it has no legal backing. Because that is the same as not asking our permission. And we call that stealing. And our anonymity has been stolen from us. Perhaps you don't think that matters, but the principle does matter, because our privacy will be next, then our ability to move freely, then our freedom to speak, and finally, after a suitable period of indoctrination and re-education, our actual ability to think. And what will we be then? Will we still be men, or women, or even human at all? People often tell me that surveillance doesn't stop me from doing anything, so why should I object? Well, for a start, I don't agree. To any thinking person, surveillance is a restriction. It is a restriction because it acknowledges that there will be a record of one's actions, and that those actions may, at some unspecified point in the future, be judged. Of course, that can be a good thing if one were inclined to commit a crime. But what if you simply wanted to do things that were not illegal, but were perhaps just odd or undesirable, socially frowned upon, or even just plain bad behaviour? And if freedom means anything at all, I would say that at the very least, it means the freedom to make bad decisions. So these things might not be illegal, but you might just want to keep them private. But because you now know that because of the unblinking eye of surveillance, and because those details may not remain private, you don't do them. That's known as the chilling effect, and that is how a population's behaviour is modified and fed into a narrower range of acceptability, and then it is narrowed again, and again, and again, until we are all towing the same narrow line of what is considered acceptable behaviour. And what will be acceptable is nothing less than unquestioning obedience. And then, of course, will be no trouble. No trouble at all to authority. No trouble whatsoever. Simply put, and I can't put it any simpler, our government are imprisoning us. You see, out there in the streets and in the countryside, that's public space. Public space. It's not government space. And they don't think we know the difference. And I suppose it's not surprising because we've never told them. We've never told them because we never thought we had to tell them. And because we have never really articulated that, government has just come along, swept it all up and said, well, that's ours now. It isn't theirs, because government don't own anything. We may allow them to manage it, but it isn't theirs. It's ours. And we've got to get it back. And they're not going to give it back. So we're going to have to challenge it. And the way we challenge it is by challenging it. We have to challenge the assumption that what they have done is okay, because at the moment that is what they do believe. And they have enough complicit, collaborating and cowed people on their side to embolden them. And when you challenge, by its very definition, you take a risk, because this requires disobedience, civil disobedience. It requires misbehaviour, and I am planning to misbehave. So the nature of my challenge is this: because of the objections to automatic number plate recognition that I have just outlined, basically that I don't believe it's any of the government's business where I go in my car, I'm going to temporarily and under certain conditions, disguise the identity of my car and me with these. See, no to automatic number plate recognition. These are number plates that I have made up expressly for this purpose, because my objection in this case is with ANPR. I will only have them on when on motorways and major roads, and we'll see what happens. I'll let you know. Many of you will say that I'm making a mistake, that if I desire anonymity and privacy, then why put myself in harm's way? In fact, why even put up videos on YouTube of all places? But if we do indeed live in a free society, then why should I have to hide? A lot of people who believe in privacy and freedom, with a fair amount of justification it must be said, feel that the approach is to get off the grid, stockpile supplies and firepower and retreat from society. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to go and live on the side of a mountain and forever be looking over my shoulder and guarding against the forces of authority, who will surely come, and at a time of their choosing. Because I actually believe in society and in its basic goodness and decency, at least in the West, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I absolutely do not believe that just because I might desire the internet and mobile phones and GPS navigation aids, that in order to get them, I must then allow the police to stick a camera up my arse. That's not the deal we signed up to, and it never was. So the object of this exercise is one of protest, nothing more. It is my intention to challenge the legitimacy of the ANPR system. It is categorically not to evade tolls or speeding fines, to break traffic laws, or to advantage myself in any way when on the road. Nevertheless, the police will not like it. Like all peeping toms everywhere, they want to know what all of us are up to at all times. And the police absolutely love ANPR and smugly label their cars ANPR equipped. I'm not standing up to a real tyranny here, so I don't want to overstate the case. I'm not risking my life, for instance. But I'm not a rich man, and I really don't know how I'm going to be able to cope with any hefty fines that may come my way. So I'm not looking forward to that. Now, I am in no way encouraging anyone else to do the same, but since I am my own free moral agent and no one else's, I am not responsible for whatever anyone else may choose to do. And you can make of that what you will. However, if you are sympathetic to my arguments, I do have a petition running that has been lying dormant for over 4 months on the parliamentary petition website. If you go to the website, look up ANPR, it should come up and is entitled "Ban Use of Automatic Number Plate Recognition Unless Investigating Crime." It has only a handful of signatures at present, but it needs 100,000 to be debated in Parliament. If you agree, please sign it. UK residents only, sadly, and share it around, since this 50-year-old is hopeless at such things. This is not my only approach to this enormous dragon, but the petition will only run for 6 months, and it is in danger of running out of time. So we need to reclaim our anonymity. Maybe you weren't using yours, I wasn't, but it's ours, not theirs. And because it underpins privacy, which underpins liberty, which underpins nothing less than human moral agency, it is a thing of supreme value. even if it didn't seem so at the time. Don't let them take it without a fight.